Pumpkin Spice Latte. Thank you for that summary, Sandra. There's a summary. We don't need to go into all of that, but we're going to be just looking at face-to-face classes and how we can look at digital technology and improve or enhance your learners' digital literacy skills with some learner-led approaches. So that's me. I have 30 years experience in teaching. I used to be a high school science teacher, and I worked extensively in distance education in the 90s. So before the internet was used in distance education. So it was really quite interesting to see the development. I've worked across most educational sectors. I have a podcast, Perspectives in Parryville. You might want to check that out. And there's my website as well. So what the presentation is about dialogue. We're using audio and video or video as dialogue. So I've listed in my bulleted list a couple of technologies. This is not comprehensive, but things like Flip, or it used to be Flipgrid, but now it's Flip, Twitter Spaces, other platforms like LinkedIn have baked into them now audio and video options. Clubhouse was really, really popular during the pandemic or the early days of the pandemic. The point I want to emphasize is that all these technologies are out there. Some of them offer synchronous ways of teaching, pedagogy. Others are more asynchronous. Some of them are exclusively online. Some of them can be used in a hybrid way. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So here's my poll. And I understand that Sophie's going to help me with the poll. Have you asked your learners to capture, share, or discuss their own video or audio as part of a face-to-face lesson? So if you could answer that, yes or no. I asked this question on Twitter and on LinkedIn. So we'll have a look in a few minutes at our poll results. So I'll keep plowing through my slides. If I just, here we go. So this is a face-to-face classroom activity that I ran with my film students. And I generally describe it was mediated by online video. I showed them a video that was on the left. There's some screenshots and very simple instructions. They were just asked to observe something and film it and then upload it. And then we discussed it in class. So these are some instructions that you see in the text. And then right down the bottom there are the learning outcomes. Because they're film students, they're not English language students or science students, they're film students. So our talking points were all about lens distortion or framing or the use of a tripod, camera position, movement, all these different things. So I found that my students really enjoyed this because it was really social and it was really simple. The stakes were very low, but it enabled me to critically assess their camera equipment and their skill level. It was something that we could build upon. And so I just wanted to mention that up front as a example. Now I've got a few examples that I want to talk through. One of them is this group that I joined just before the pandemic called Edu Reading, and we share an academic piece of academic literature. So there's our current one about retrieval practice. And over the month or two, we read the article and then we critique and reflect and review. And then on Flip, we share a 3-minute video and then we have a Twitter chat. And so this is more of a peer-to-peer type of thing. The learners are participants or other teachers. So I'll just pop out of this PowerPoint and I'll just show you here's the Edu Reading group. So there's a bit up front where everyone just goes on and describes who they are. And then here's one of the prompts. I did check with Nicholas and he's happy for me to share a snippet. But the question is, this is a very specific type of research. Is it what teachers should be reading? So let's listen to Nicholas's response.
Hi guys, it's been a while, but I'm back at Edu Reading. Should teachers read this specific article? My answer would be no. They could, but should they? If you're not used to reading academic,
you can probably get the sense, and this is why I like Flip as an approach. His tone of voice, his intonation, his body language. We get a lot of information from that rather than just a text. But I mean, having said that, maybe if you can add your comments in the text, I think that might be a call center thing. Oh, hang on a minute. Great. I switched off every possible notification except for my home landline. Anyway, now I'm going to go back to my slides. Twitter Spaces is another technology that I've become increasingly interested in. And we have a little book club. These are two of my colleagues. I've met one of them face-to-face, but they're from Victoria. So we just get online, and this is like talkback radio in a way. So I might just pop out again, and here is a sample of our space.
The vibe of the school, which we've managed to sustain over time. One of the main devices that we use,
I won't play all of that, but the idea is that we have participants again, and they're actively contributing to a dialogue, essentially. Now, I'm just looking at the time. I've got to keep on pace. So here's another example where these are a little bit more developed, where these were developed for Macquarie University, but significantly the students or the learners were involved in the scripting, and they're two Macquarie students. These are Japanese language students, and they were the final clips were used in an online course. And so they're typical scenarios which I would imagine as English language teachers, you're across all of this approach of, you know, what was I learned the other day, not practical language. It's anyway, we'll get to that. It's the type of language that you use in discussing day-to-day interactions. So I'm going to go to VLC. Hang on, my playlist is gone. Hang on a minute. Let me just open this up.
Hi guys, it's been a while, but I'm back at Edu Reading. Should teachers read
the next one?
ケイティちゃん、おはようございます。
おはよう、ミケちゃん。お元気ですか？
元気ですよ。何を食べましょう？
どうしようかな。
チョコレートカフェにしよう。
Now, I don't really know what they're saying because it's in Japanese, but the idea that I'm trying to emphasize is with all this bombarding, with all this technology, at the heart of all of this is our learning outcomes. What are we trying to achieve here? We're using technology to, in this case, develop and reinforce certain Japanese language elements. I'm not a Japanese language teacher, and I guess this is where in the realm of learning design, I don't need to be because we have a subject matter expert. And in this case, our students, our learners are subject matter experts as well. I'm just the guy behind the camera. So this is a little bit more of a sophisticated approach, but it may be something I want to give you some ideas to think about. Maybe some of you are already doing this. So that's the nature of the poll. We'll get to your poll results very soon. This is a learner-led video approach on Flip. Now, this is when I needed to get some clips. I couldn't just kind of be talking. I tried it just me talking as the barista and as the participant, and then it was really obvious I needed some other clips. But I guess this approach could be, if you're already familiar with Flip, you could start using Flip and actually play the clips back within your face-to-face classroom. Okay, so I've kind of trying to cram in quite a lot of ideas. It'll all make sense very soon. So hopefully this poll, I'm going to stop sharing just to clear my own head. Sandra or Sophie, can we see, is there any poll results? How do we see those?
I've just ended the poll results, Mark, so you should be able to see those now. Otherwise, I can tell you we've got 53% for yes,
yep, and
47% for no.
Okay, that's good. It's good that I guess these are kind of, you know, what does one make of these poll results? So
yeah.
I found on LinkedIn, I'm not going to pop over and show you, but it was more people had said yes, a lot more people, and there were only a few no's. But I mean, I guess the fact that you're familiar and comfortable, at least more than half, that's a really good thing. And I mean, maybe some of you have already used Flip, or really, I remember back in the olden days, there was what was it called? It was a plugin for Blackboard Learning Management System. I can't think of the name of it, but it was like an audio, you could upload film audio clips, but it was really good for practicing language. And so just let me get back to my slides. Okay. Some of you may be familiar with this SAMR model. I've got a few slides on this, but essentially the S stands for substitute, where the technology acts as a direct substitute with no functional change. So that means if we're doing a poetry lesson, we might have a PDF as the poem. So there's no sort of change that's radical. Augmentation is when the technology acts as a direct tool substitute, and it's improved a little bit. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Padlet. Padlet gives you more functionality than a face-to-face notice board. And Kahoot gives you more functionality. It's augmenting the process. So it's enhancing the pedagogy. M stands for modification. So an example of that is what we're doing today with the Zoom chat and learning management systems, where there's a significant redesign. And then the final one, the one that's the most enhanced, is when you completely, you're just redefining what the technology allows. So a good example of that is a virtual field trip or something like that. Now, here, I went to find the sources of this graphic. There's actually 3 sources, and they're on the right. But essentially, they use a really nice metaphor of, if you have coffee at home and then you go to the coffee shop, it's the same thing. If you've a cup of coffee, you're just substituting it. However, if we race to the end, if we order the pumpkin spice, last time I checked, no one I know has made pumpkin spice lattes at home. So you're really, truly redefining what an espresso drink is. So it's this idea that, and I mean, the Samir model, certainly, we don't have time to go into the detail, but I find that it's a really good one that's really practical, because it helps you to work within a framework, a conceptual framework, so that you're still achieving your learning outcomes or your learning intentions. The pedagogy is still central. It's just you happen to be using different degrees of technology. So functional language, that was the key term I was trying to remember. I'm just going to check the time. Hang on a minute. I've got about 10 minutes, so I'll have to be quick.
Yeah, you're okay, Mark. You've got 10 more minutes. Most people will keep with us.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is, again, I'm not an English language teacher, but I thought, oh yeah, what do we do first? We probably set the context. we do all these things on the left. Now, the things on the right, these are all what we're thinking about. Is it going to be face-to-face, online? How are our learners? What skills involved? What's the purpose? Who's involved? So here am I setting the context. Here's a barista and he's asking a question. Here's a language focus. I would like a latte, size, type, with milk, all these things that I dare say almost 100% of you would already be doing these in your lessons anyway. But the nature of my presentation is just to enhance and modify it using technology without letting your head explode. Here's our barista. Now I want to demonstrate editing with Adobe Rush. So I'm just going to go over to Adobe Rush. Here's some I prepared earlier. Now if you haven't used Adobe Rush, it is a free software, but there's limitations. It's certainly not the only video software around, but it is particularly easy to use. Now here I have imported some essentially B-roll of cups. I'm going to play this. I added some music. I might have to rethink that the title. I'm just going to go out and show you some of the other clips. Forgive me, Sandra, I'm about to play your one. Here we are.
Can I please have a regular oat latte with 1 sugar?
Okay, so that's one of our speakers. Here's another speaker. Oh.
Hi, how are you? I'm good, thank you. Can I get a chai latte?
Okay, here's our barista. Hang on a minute.
Would you like any sugars in that one?
Okay, and we've got another. Where have got that other person? I can't find her. I've gone and lost the. Oh, there's me. We don't need to see me. Oh, there.
Can I please have a large Mac?
Now, if you have sharp eyes, you'll see there's some text. I'd made the assumption that text on screen is a really good idea for literacy. So we can readily change this if we need to. And again, it's all template driven. We can even move around. I'm going to just zoom in a little bit so it's easier for me to work with. I can even move things like this around here. So you can see by the controls on the right-hand side, it's quite easy to just get up and running. There's a little bit in the clip that I want to remove.
Hi, can I please have a...
Hang on a minute. I'll just pull that out a bit.
Oh, hang on. Oh,
Okay. If you have sharp eyes, you can see I'm scrolling along and this is how we edit using this software. So.
Hi, can I please have a...
So we start to piece together essentially an edit. Now this is my really terrible attempt at.
So how do you take your coffee?
Okay, a bit of an intro of some sort. I have another barista.
Any sugar?
So all of this is a little bit of, it's very messy and I need to kind of improve it. So I have to think, well, what should I do? This is kind of like almost worst case scenario. I haven't even really demonstrated how to use the software, but that's all right. It's more about the idea, because I would recommend a video script. So here, and this is a typical structure for a video script. We have dialogue or narrational music, energetic music, and we have a coffee shop montage, and I have a title. And then I work through how I'm going to structure my clips, so that this is the type of thing that I could upload, and then my instruction to my learners is just watch the video clip and go off to a coffee shop and create create something and bring it back, bring it to class. So in the interests of getting through this on time, I used artificial intelligence just to create a little video script. That's my result. I wasn't entirely happy with it, but I thought, oh yeah, this is kind of working. I guess it's important to have some sort of structure, but I didn't want to create a rod for my own back type thing. General tips for success: clear instructions to learners. You might see the people that, the good people that organized this symposium, they gave me clear instructions. So it's always a good idea just to have instructions to learners or participants. Also to set the appropriate tone. People won't participate if it's not, if they don't trust the situation. So you have to make sure that you establish that tone right up front. Approachable. It's okay to be informal. You connect the students with each other and with yourself and the activity. Clear outcomes, clear learning outcomes, I should say. Clarify the student roles, as in, we really want you to contribute to this. And then you have to respect, if people are, students or learners are shy or they don't want to, then, just leave it. And then also a teacher as participant and facilitator works well. So I've managed to get through those really quickly. So I'm just gonna, stop sharing.